This next one, something a little bit different, but still a little bit more of the same. We have a multi-product composition, a few different exposures for beer and foam and labels and glass tops. Nothing too serious though, just 6 exposures. Might seem a little bit overwhelming to, people who aren't used to this kind of compositing, but I'm just gonna crank through these things and show you some tricks. My usual bag of stuff. I'm gonna skip the capture one process this time. Nothing more to show you there. I just did a little bit of crop. I don't think I straightened it because I like the way things are going. My usual latitude adjustments, that sort of thing. So we'll just start this off, stack everything up, probably even just skip bridge and go straight into this, but it's always fun doing this part of it. I'm gonna go through the notes here instead of outside. Let's just do one of these and copy it in to our PSD like that. And I'm gonna make it something a little bit more readable if you think that is more readable. Cool. So we've got a main front beer glass selection. May need a little smoothing in the transition. Starts to get a light gray with a bit of a line. Not quite sure. Oh, I see what he means. It's a little bit more saturated down here, a little bit grayer up there. So we'll just put a curve up on top when we get to it. So this is our front bottle, and I'm gonna have a couple different fronts. So let's call it a bottle. We'll keep that one up on top. We do remember to get some alignments down. Let me see if I've got kind of a base that I should be aligning to. 1230 is going to be front beer bottle, main label, and liquid inside of a bottle. And I made a mistake. This is actually the front glass. Cool. Front glass. This guy's the front bottle. And the main label, liquid inside. Looks like it's pretty much everything. So we'll call that front bottle. And sticky. Make sure I've got everything still turned on. 1231, clean front glass above liquid. And then he says 1221 has foam that is making the glass a mess. And that's this kind of stuff up here. And 1231 is for all of this up in here. So this is gonna go up into front glass because it's all part of it. This will actually be the top and this will be the body. And if I wanna just give myself a reminder, I can do something like that. Okay, quick reminder. Moving on, 1243 doesn't have any notes. 1263, oh, looks like it's just maybe a little glow here and there. We'll see what it's for in a minute. Looks like we've got some alignment to do. There is some focus moving, so alignment is actually a lot trickier on this one because the focal plane is moving around, which changes the shape. So 1246 is another unknown. Looks like there is a little bit of foam difference. The focus is coming up to the front. That's here, but I don't see a note. So let me just go back over here and make sure. Nope, we'll put it down there for now. 1263 for the back glass of liquid and beer. That's this guy here. Head brought into focus, made a mistake, didn't capture the glass above the liquid. This is what he's talking about. That's okay, I know how to fix it. So this is back glass 1276 for the entire back bottle. Hooray. Okay, and 1277 going up here, neck label on front bottle. So I'm going to put that in there, and that's 1277. So it's going to get a real quick mask like that. Okay, now that I've got that, I think what I want to do is, for now, we're going to align to the front bottle. So I'm going to stack that up on top and set that to difference. Check out some of my underlying layers. This one's for the front glass, so I don't really need to worry about aligning it over here. In fact, just to help myself out, I'm gonna put that on its own mask. So all I really need to do is make sure it's kind of aligned in the scene on this side, and then make sure that one is aligned in the same place, and it looks like it is to me. So I can turn that off. Front bottle, this is for the label of the front bottle, so I want to make sure that that's my alignment, and that looks just right. Turn that back on, turn this off. This is my back glass exposure. That's this glass right here. So I want to make sure that I'm kind of aligned to the front bottle, but if you can recognize what this edge is right here, it's actually the edge of the bottle, but because the focus is changing, you get an element that doesn't quite fit in the areas around it. So I really don't even need to worry about that position because it's going to move around a little bit. So back bottle is here, and doesn't really matter, again, where we align to on this one. I'm going to get it in the ballpark though. And that is that. Cool. Now we're set up. I'm going to drop this one back into the front bottle folder, and I'm going to make sure I'm reset to normal. I'm just gonna go ahead and start roughing these masks in and start thinking about the challenges that I have with this image. They aren't big ones, but I'm gonna have to do some fancy finger work to make it happen. So let's get cracking and start with, I think let's just start with the front bottle. That was kind of my hero for this, so let's take a look at what's happening with that. I'm gonna just come in with a brush or a pen tool or a lasso if you want. I'm not that strict about which tools you should use when. If you can make something look good with a tool I never thought of, then I'll be real stoked, because that means I would get to learn how to do something new. And I love learning how to do things differently. So with this edge over here, there's going to be a little bit of movement that probably happens, because it feels like things were shifting around a little bit on set, and that's okay. Just gonna make sure my mask is pretty clean, and then I'll do some on and offs to check out what seems like it's out of position. The great thing about compositing with a lockdown set is there's a lot of things you can get away with in regards to not creating perfect masks. And that's what kind of makes this enjoyable sometimes, because, I don't know, it's a little bit less precision than is always necessary. So it seems like it's jumping around a little bit. Doesn't necessarily even matter, but if you want to be real perfect about it, you can just get it right on the dots. So this little thing I thought was a mask, but it's actually a shadow. So label's done. I can leave that alone for a little while. My front bottle is in place. I'm gonna switch over to my front glass now. I've got an upper exposure for this and a lower exposure. This is for that, and this is for this. So to put these two pieces together, the first thing I'm going to do is get the top of the glass to sit on the bottom of the glass. And interestingly, when I look at these two exposures, I see something different than what was intended. Because when you look at this, there's quite a bit of stuff going on in here. And I can kind of see what the intention was. It's sediment, it's moving around, maybe it's bubbles, that kind of thing. But when you look at this one, which is supposedly only for the top of the glass, check it out. There's a really nice body down here. A few little bits to clean up, but I think the body is way nicer on this top piece than this other one. And if I want, I can use the original intention of the body to just paint in this area and use this body for the main part of the beer. So with that in mind, I would like to turn this part off for now, and instead I'm going to delete that and check out what's happening. You can see too that this one has a whole lot of masking I would need to do to get it in place. There's even some focal length differences. Highlights are way brighter, and I don't think that's a good highlight right there for this scene. I want to kind of push that glass back a little bit. So let's just real quickly cut a loose mask around this and see if anything shows up that is a flag for any more precise masking we would need to do. Okay, that's how fast my masks are. So if I turn this on and off, you know, this is what we're putting it onto. I do need to composite the back bottle in to see what's happening. You know, I still haven't decided what my base background exposure is gonna be. There wasn't a note for that. So, you know, I don't really know how my layer stack is gonna take shape at this point. But for now, let's just take a quick look at how that's working. I don't see any weird masking stuff going on. So even though that's my mask, you cannot tell, and that's the only thing that matters. So that one's done, and just because Rob gave me this exposure, I'm gonna go ahead and see what I can do about changing the surface of the beer, because I think that was the main intent of this image, of that exposure. So with that, I'm gonna invert my mask, and I'm just gonna do a real quick check of what's happening in here. Maybe he likes the color of this one. you know? So this is kind of what the intent was. And I can see that, you know, this one, yeah, it's definitely running a little bit dark. So what I think I'm gonna do is use that and use this part of it. And I'm not gonna use the highlight. And just gonna bring this piece up. Ooh, I wonder if I can, no. There's a little bit of a dip in this highlight, but that's okay. Something's going on with my mask. Cool, a little bit of a dark edge there. It's kind of in everything though. Maybe what I can do is poke this guy out. We might get into some cropping action over here in a little while. Let's have a look at if I can just gently guide this piece out. Easy. Okay. We're going to pretend this little highlight is caused by the beer behind. I don't think that's a problem. I'm going to actually punch that up just a tiny bit because there was a little bit of a dip in there. Sweet. All right. There is our front glass composite. Don't worry about this edge. This is all bleed edge or a crop. No biggie. We could come in and stamp and fix all that, but it's gonna get chopped off. So moving along, we've got an exposure for the black back glass. It's gonna be in front of the front bottle, yet somehow behind the front glass as well. Getting a little bit tricky. So got to decide, is it going to go up here? Or is it going to go down below? I think it's going to go down below, and I'm just going to move it over like that. See how it was? See this little piece peeking out? It's because the exposure or the focal plane changed, and the edge of this front glass became blurrier and stuck out further. So to fix that, rather than like killing myself and trying to clone that edge in, I'm just gonna move the bottle over. Super simple. I'm gonna, see that change? That was the difference. So I'm gonna invert a mask. I've got a back glass. Here's where it's gonna get tricky because I've got this super fuzzy edge and somehow I've got to blend it into a background. But fortunately, we have a nice fuzzy background, and I bet you I can get away with not even worrying about that edge. Things doing what they're supposed to do. I can even tell it's coming in because it's just so clean. It's just a minor difference in focus. You wanted it to be slightly sharper than the way it was originally captured, and I totally get that. Gonna have some little issues down at the bottom there, but you can see even with this really rough, gnarly mask, you can't even tell where that has been composited in. You could if you knew what you're looking for, but you're the only one who would ever know that thing was composited in. So if I do a little before and after, it all looks solid to me. The only little piece I saw that really shifted was this right there. See that? So looking at my mask, looking there, all of this is clean. You know, if I wanted to be super picky, I could just do that. That looks fine. So quick back glass composite. And you know what? Apparently I can't read very well, and that's for the back glass and not the back bottle. But you see how we're picking and choosing what we can. So it looks like this one had a little bit even sharper focus than this one. Oh, there's some glycerin on it. So I'm just gonna put this there, the mask is still gonna be fine. And I'm going to turn off the mask, see what's happening with this thing and where I need to put it. Doesn't look like there's anything major going on. The mask that I just made, I wasn't wasting any time. It works just the same. See that? All the same. Up the edges. That's all good. That's fine. That's fine. A little bit of a mistake, but I rescued. So with that out of the way, there's my front bottle. Okay, now we can do this back glass. This one's a little trickier. I've got a flag that was in the scene. This back black piece of material. And so what I'd like to do really quickly is I'm behind here, that's fine. Gonna just check my alignments, that's good. And front bottle is here, so I'm thinking I'm gonna try and see what happens when I do my loose mask. Actually, this isn't a loose one because my feather is tight, but I really just want to get a good idea of exactly what's going on here, because there's obviously a little bit of movement. So because of that, I want to get as close as I possibly can, edge to edge, which means I need to move this over, but here's what's happening. See this over there? The back one's coming through, and that is okay because I love doing sloppy masks. So can cover up the one behind, no big deal. Got this flag card entering the scene. There is quite a bit of focal differences between the two of these, so there's all sorts of big wraps that are happening here. I'm gonna see what happens if I move this over. I think the first thing I should probably do is tighten this mask up to be what it should be. And to do that, there's not always an obvious solution. One thing I could do is kind of incorporate the edge of this bottle blur up onto this bottle, but it wouldn't really make very much sense optically. So I'm going to work my way over to this bottle edge in a few minutes by procrastinating and distracting myself while I consider my options over there. And we're gonna check out everything else first, and then I'm gonna come back to this with some sort of amazing solution. See, that's the gap I'm kind of having to deal with right now. So as we're working on this, let's see what we can do about getting rid of our flag issue here. And what I'm thinking I can do is something quick and easy. I don't feel like pulling a bunch of frequency separations, so I'm going to check out a little bit of healing work because this sort of texture is very conducive to that sort of work and that tool. These fingerprints, definitely not going to worry about. So heal brush, and I'm just going to turn off my mask. And I think first thing I want to do, actually, because of the way healing works, is I am going to give myself some color up here. Kind of a little bit of a heal trick, because that black is just gonna rock healing brushes world. So doing that now, I can get a little bit better of a change, a transition between. Probably have to go over this a few times. Not concerned in the least. Probably need more feather. I like going over my heel stuff multiple times. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you just got to start over, and that's okay. There's a lot of weirdness there. I'm going to start over. Just to make it a little bit better, I got carried away. Okay, J, E. Interesting, that's just how it is. So I wasn't really getting carried away. It's really like that. I thought that was me, but it's not. It's just the way things are. So to start that out, instead of doing it the way that I did, I'm actually just going to clone instead with a little bit of a low flow to give myself a start. Easy. Yep. See, this wasn't me. This was actually part of the glass, but it really looked like a healing error. So I'm gonna go way onto the side here, like that. Now I can come in with my healing brush and get rid of some of this stuff. Okay, but we don't need to spend too much time with that because there's lots of other stuff to do, I think. But I do want to get rid of that flag because that was definitely one of Rob's notes. So that's done. Almost a little bit of repetition. So I'm just gonna disguise that repetition. Cool. Back to this. Flags removed. Yep, we do have obviously that thing that we're now gonna clear up. That's because of my mask. So let's just fix this real fast. And I'm not sure what my amazing solution is just yet, but for now, I'm just gonna real gently kind of come into the side of this thing, see what I have to work with, see how far I can actually move this glass behind the bottle to get rid of that edge. Something like that. Seems to work. I'm getting really lucky here because I have a very similar background and it's not like a clone of itself, so it's not producing any doubling. It's just moving right in. So let's quickly just get rid of what was there, and that's this blurred edge. Just like that, bam, it's gone. Whoops. Kind of am interested in hanging on to this flare for some reason. I think it's kind of neat. And what I want to do is actually use the whole thing like that because it's this neat kind of focal point, but it doesn't really distract you too much. And so let's keep on moving this thing out. Sometimes I just see what happens if I got an opportunity to blend. I don't right there. And so let's finish off this mask. Again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time with this right now because that's going to be your fun. And I've already had a lot of fun today. So these little things I'm not going to worry too much about. See what's happening right here. That's an edge that's not bothering me. This is great. Okay, we've got our back glass composite in. I think that's nearly undetectable in terms of being able to see anything that's been transplanted. You know, the base is looking pretty good. It's a slightly shifty. You know, there's some really big exposure differences. you know, if you want to see how it works, you can always take a super low flow brush and see what you can do about putting a little bit of edge down there like that. So it gives it a little bit of reflection of this dark value right there. You know, maybe it's even a matter of brightening this one up a whole lot instead. I don't know. It's fun to play with. Okay, let's see if we got all these pieces composited. These had no use. I've got notes for a front glass. That fits together beautifully. I've got notes for a back glass. And as you saw, that's working. Got a back bottle. It's all together. And we had on the front bottle, we had a label that needed to go down. We've got that. And from here, we would work on color, you know, get this bottle masked out, get this glass on its own, you know, just throw down maybe some dodge burn curves. You could, you know, put something like this in your layer set. Not that you would ever use that, but with that created, you could then just use it to highlight some areas where you wanted to bring in some more light. You know, it's just a real gentle kind of thing. Maybe this wants to glow a little bit. Maybe this wants to glow a little bit more. You know, this thing's kind of dark. I would probably use some fancy tricks to bring that up to life. Definitely a little cleaning to do here and there. You know, the brands always love when you make their labels pop. So more than likely, I would dig into this thing and, you know, make it fancy, that kind of thing. But I play loose in the beginning and work my way into refinement for those kind of adjustments. But you saw how quickly I just made that mask. You wouldn't even see any edges on it. I could always blur it slightly and take anything off that I didn't like. But I think overall, that's looking really good. That was our Hitachino composite. Looks like it was 5 or 6 different exposures, and we did it in a matter of minutes. And I hope you have a lot of fun with it.